Actually has 2 political jobs on 2 public payrolls as mayor of South Suburban Dalton, or as she calls herself, Superman.
Scott, the meeting wrapped up early because 2 trustees, as you mentioned, did not show up. Chris Gonzalez and Carmen Carlisle. Without them, not enough board members were present to make a...
The troubled mayor of Dalton, Illinois, Tiffany Henyard, is arguably the most controversial political figure. During her term, she has been accused of corruption and faced eviction controversies, which have nearly destroyed her reputation. Associated with chaos in the little hamlet she manages, and just as things seem to be getting out of control, the FBI intervened and accused her of widespread corruption, shocking the locals and only starting her latest problems.
More information. They'll turn up more leads. They may turn up more witnesses. They may find a cooperator. They may find an informant, all which will benefit the investigation tremendously.
But based on what we know now, if you're Tiffany Henyard, how are you feeling?
I would be nervous.
First, let's discuss the most startling, the revelation Henyard. Tiffany, according to the FBI's investigation, the so-called super mayor is now accused of embezzling millions of public monies by planning a plot to transfer funds into personal accounts and make unlawful purchases. According to people familiar with the probe, the sum could reach $2 million, which would be an incredible sum for a small community that has long struggled with serious financial issues. The extent of the alleged loss caught them off guard after years of dubious leadership. One anonymous source called it a massive breach of public trust, adding that it goes beyond simple mismanagement to include outright stealing. Simply put, the charges were made at a time when Dalton's finances were already being closely examined. The village's general fund had fallen from a surplus of more than $5 million in 2022 to a deficit of about $4 million by the middle of 2024, according to an early financial report released earlier this year. Henyard has long been accused of reckless spending, but the most recent claims that she embezzled public funds for private gain have infuriated the community. At a public meeting, one local voiced the community's ire, claiming that she should be repairing the streets rather than lining her pockets. Meanwhile, people have become more vocal in their demands for her resignation, calling for accountability and an end to what many refer to as the Henyard era of corruption.
Received the information today. We have the best mayor ever. I've been here since 1993, and she's the best we ever had.
You know, you're doing a lot of programs, good programs for the, the senior citizens, and you're doing a lot of programs for, people who are on a fixed budget. But what about the people, the blue-collar people?
These revelations could not have come at a worse moment for Henyard, as they align with her audacious declaration to run for re-election. Yes, despite being involved in numerous scandals, Henyard recently announced her plan to run for mayor again. Rather than winning support, this decision has only enraged her detractors. She has the audacity to ask for our votes while stealing from us, a Dalton resident said during The announcement at the contentious town hall meeting has been characterized as tone-deaf at best, and some have even called it outright delusional. To make matters even more ridiculous, the irony of Henyard's personal financial difficulties is that, despite continuing to earn a 6-figure salary from her dual positions as Thornton Township supervisor and Dalton's mayor, she is facing an eviction lawsuit from her own landlord. Court documents show that Henyard and their landlord, Janetta Hull, described the situation as a nightmare, saying that not only did Henyard and Woods fail to pay rent, but they also changed the locks on the house to keep her out. I have nowhere else to turn because her boyfriend, Kamal Woods, stopped paying rent on their Dalton home in August and now owes thousands in back rent and late fees. In a recent interview, Ho added that she worries about the property going into foreclosure because of the unpaid rent.
I think that's the biggest.
The specifics of the eviction story have only served to increase the indignation among Henyard's detractors. After being pressured to terminate an agreement with another tenant, Ho, who had previously thought of Henyard as a friend, reluctantly agreed to rent her house to the mayor in 2021. At the time, Ho believed that Henyard, with her well-known status and high income, would be a dependable tenant. But that confidence was betrayed earlier this year when Ho was forced to raise the rent by just Because of the rising property taxes, £20 payments have reportedly halted entirely since Woods informed her they couldn't afford it, leaving Hull frantically trying to pay for her own costs. This is ridiculous for someone earning over $300,000 annually. Hull claimed that although she should be a leader, she doesn't even cover her expenses. Hull shares the frustration of many Dalton locals who have had enough of Henyard's antics, which range from extravagant parties paid for by taxpayers to accusations of poor management. The number of grievances grows. Henyard's use of the village's credit card to make over $33,000 in Amazon purchases earlier this year was one of the more egregious instances. Critics characterized the extravagant spending as involving superfluous luxury goods and ornamental objects. One trustee stated at a public meeting that she was behaving as though the village was her personal piggy bank.
With credit cards. As you heard me speak today in my board meeting about, I do not handle that.
Some of those charges are for you, though.
No, sir.
You didn't go to Las Vegas?
Half of people are talking about more than simply financial scandals. Her actions at public gatherings have also drawn a lot of criticism. Over the past year, her conflicts with the Dalton trustees have become well known, with meetings frequently turning into shouting matches and walkouts. In one particularly ludicrous instance, Henyard called the police on employees who were taking down banners featuring her face. The banners, which bore her self-styled title as Super Mayor, had been erected without board approval and the vendor. When trustees ordered the removal of the banners, the responsible party claimed they owed nearly $20,000 in unpaid bills. Henyard allegedly demanded that police arrest the workers, claiming the removal was theft of government property. Video footage shows her arguing with officers, insisting that they press charges against them, saying, "If you have to, nobody messes with my property." The situation worsened when Henyard appointed a new police chief, Ronald Byrd, without board approval, which sparked another firestorm because Byrd was found to be inactive. The Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board even wrote to her urging her to remove Byrd from the position, but she refused, accusing the trustees of undermining her authority. State law enforcement records made him legally unfit to serve as chief, but Henyard insisted on the appointment, resulting in a legal standoff between her and the trustees.
And Mike, Thornton Township Supervisor Tiffany Henyard wanted the Board of Trustees to approve some events that she wants the township to pay for, but none of the trustees showed up for this special meeting tonight. That left the meeting canceled.
With crucial decisions being postponed by court battles and meetings regularly canceled due to a lack of quorum, these power struggles have placed Dalton in a near state of paralysis. "We're paying for her ego while nothing gets done because it's all about her," one person said at a recent town hall meeting, expressing the mounting frustration of the locals. As if that weren't enough, Henyard has also been accused of using intimidation tactics to silence her critics. In a now famous 90-minute Facebook live tirade, she threatened to have her political opponents arrested, accusing them of planning a smear campaign against her. "I will be seeking arrest for those involved if they do this. I will be filing charges," I stated on the show. There is a lot, and that's just me telling you a little bit. The video, which went viral very fast, was widely criticized as just another instance of Henyard's unpredictable behavior. One neighbor stated that she threatens to arrest anybody who disagrees with them. A dictatorship is not what this is.
Allegations of corruption surrounding Henyard in her capacity as Dalton Mayor and Thornton Township Supervisor. And now we've learned from multiple sources that federal agents are in fact interviewing witnesses as part of a possible investigation that may or may not result.
Tension has only increased as a result of the FBI's ongoing investigation into the Henyard administration. According to sources close to the investigation, federal agents have subpoenaed financial records from Dalton and Thornton Township, as well as documents pertaining to Henyard's personal spending, even though no charges have been brought. It's only a matter of time, but Henyard is refusing to back down in the face of increasing criticism. In a recent statement, she called the accusations against her political and promised to fight back. She said that this is all part of a smear effort by my rivals, who are envious of my success, even comparing herself to. During a public meeting, former U.S. President Donald Trump asserted that she would win re-election in a landslide despite the controversies, saying, "Like Trump, I'm coming in strong. The public knows the truth and will support her."
Had a much different tone than what we've experienced previously at Dalton City Council meetings. Now, the room was full of Henyard supporters, and they wanted me to be sure to tell you that they applauded for her several times as she talked about the township being in a great place financially, Thornton Township.
But for a lot of people in Dalton, the answer is definitely there's little doubt that the locals are fed up with what they perceive to be an endless circus. And as the drama plays out, the cries for Henyard's resignation get louder every day. Tiffany Henyard isn't going down without a fight, regardless of the FBI probe, the eviction complaint, or the growing opposition from her own neighborhood. To stay in office at all costs, but with so many scandals mounting, even her most ardent fans are beginning to doubt how long she can stay in office. And the next election is only a few months away, so the people of Dalton will soon have a chance to voice their opinions. It remains to be seen whether Henyard's audacious predictions of a landslide re-election will come to pass or whether her scandals will ultimately catch up with her.
We are not able to handle.
The Tiffany Henyard's not only was her ascent to power political, but it was also premeditated and purposeful, based on what many would contend was a foundation of deception. Beneath the polished campaign slogans and promises of development, there is a complicated tale of how her current legal and political issues are not surprising to those who have closely watched her career. Rather, they appear to be the natural result of years of unbridled ambition. She used every instrument available to her to climb to the top.
Here, these things are to kind of see some of the receipts that appear to be connected to it, and I think that the taxpayers really.
Henyard's political career started with audacious claims and a meticulously manicured persona as an advocate for the weak. She portrayed herself as the new face of leadership, someone who could bring new life and contemporary ideas to Dalton and Thornton Township. But as her detractors would later point out, her rise was characterized by a number of actions that appeared to be more about securing her own authority than they were about helping the community. From the beginning, her focus was unmistakably control, and Henyard spent no time in making sure she had it. One of her first and most contentious tactics was she soon discovered that putting loyalists in important roles could strengthen her control over the local government. So she started methodically swapping out anyone who might question her authority for people who would not only agree with her choices, but also help shield her from responsibility. This was more than merely filling gaps. It was about erecting a wall of defense around herself. To guarantee their allegiance to Henyard over the people they were meant to serve, trustees, department leaders, and even law enforcement officers were carefully chosen.
Raided and shut down by Dalton police, he believes because he refused to make a donation to a civic event sponsored by Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard.
And I talked to a couple of agents and I explained them what was going on. I gave them all.
Henyard's consolidation of power was never more apparent than in her early relationship with the Dalton Police Department, where she made it clear that she intended Ed to assume complete control of the village's law enforcement. This move would later be one of the most criticized aspects of her administration. She appointed a number of police chiefs, each more controversial than the last, and her choice to appoint Ronald Burge as chief caused outrage for reasons other than just his dubious qualifications, but also because it demonstrated her continued use of circumvention to advance her objective. Though trustees and state officials objected, Burge, whose law enforcement certification had expired, was handpicked by Henyard. Critics contended that his appointment was more about his willingness to obey Henyard's orders than his leadership skills, and that this pattern of putting loyalty before competence went beyond the police department. One of Henyard's most outspoken detractors was Carmen Carlisle, her former secretary, who had previously worked closely with the mayor. Carlisle said that her experience under Henyard was chaotic and that the mayor frequently required her employees to be loyal without question, even if it meant crossing moral boundaries. Carlisle stated in an interview that it was about what was best for her, not the residents. If you didn't follow the rules, you were out.
or disagree, but you must show up to say yes or no.
The Dalton Board of Trustees, whose job it is to oversee and make sure the mayor's decisions serve the community's interests, found themselves at odds with Henyard's need for control and loyalty, which inevitably led to arguments. Henyard's meetings frequently turned into heated arguments, with the trustees accusing her of overstepping her authority and the trustees accusing her of obstructing her vision for the village. Tensions reached a breaking point earlier this year when Henyard sued a number of trustees, alleging that they were unlawfully having meetings without her present. The trustees retaliated, accusing Henyard of attempting to sabotage their work and keep them from holding her responsible. A public gathering when Henyard arrived late and stormed out after being jeered at by people was one of the most dramatic events in this ongoing rivalry. The meeting was moved to a larger venue after that. As Henyard tried to regain control of the room, she was met with alcohol and yells from the crowd. "This is an embarrassment to Dalton." One resident yelled, "Why won't you step down?" Henyard, who was clearly irate, accused the trustees of causing the chaos and vowed to keep fighting for her job after the Illinois Attorney General ruled that the village's regular meeting space violated open meeting laws.
Are there any questions that you have at all?
No, right now I'm going to give her a chance.
And this meeting comes one day after Fox 32's Dane Placco exposed what some are calling misappropriation of funds after traveling to Washington, D.C. in January for a U.S. conference of mayors, according to...
Even as Henyard battles to hold on to power, it is getting harder to ignore the cracks in her administration. The financial scandals alone have caused many to doubt her ability to govern, and there are many instances of reckless spending that appear to put Henyard's personal image ahead of the needs of the community, one of which is especially egregious. As an illustration, consider the PS $33,000 she spent on Amazon purchases using the village's credit card, some of which were purportedly for village events. The lack of accountability and transparency has raised red flags, and trustees have repeatedly called for an independent audit of the village's finances. However, Henyard has resisted these efforts, which has further fueled suspicions of wrongdoing. Additionally, her re-election campaign has been widely criticized as tone. Considering the current situation in the village, even some of her former supporters are perplexed by Def's decision to run for a second term. They contend that she should concentrate on resolving the many problems facing Dalton instead of using the campaign slogan "Fighting for the People," which has been met with skepticism from many locals who wonder for what exactly she is fighting.
The FBI has been using electronic surveillance as part of its investigation. Agents are asking questions about Henyard's alleged use of taxpayer dollars and resources, including massive spending on out-of-town.
Hen's rivals have swiftly capitalized on her scandals, and Jason House, who is challenging her in the next election, has established himself as the anti-Henyard candidate by vowing to bring accountability and transparency back to the village government house. Additionally, he has garnered a lot of support from. During a campaign rally, locals who are tired of the current administration declared that they needed true leadership, not someone who uses their position to stifle their opponents and enrich themselves. Dalton deserves better, but her landlord, Janetta Hull, has joined the chorus of Henyard's detractors, who are not limited to the political sphere. An increasing number of people are demanding accountability. Hull, who previously thought of Henyard as a friend, has turned into one of her most vocal critics since suing the mayor for eviction. In a recent interview, Hull said she was annoyed by Henyard's non-payment of rent and her seeming indifference to the financial hardship it has caused.
I'm not the one on anything. As long as I can tell you now. So I'm just trying to answer to the...
So you're saying there's a foundation that's not registered, but it has nothing to do with you?
Correct. That's true.
Okay.
That's
so you're not aware of any of the work that they've done, money that they've raised?
Despite the mounting scandals, Henyard's ironclad hold on power appears to be eroding. Her supporters are dwindling, her opponents are gaining ground, and the investigations into her administration are showing no signs of abating. In a recent Facebook post, she rejected the accusations, denounced her as fake news, and said that those who criticize her are driven by jealousy and a desire to see her fail. She wrote, "But I'm not going anywhere. "The people of Dalton need me." It's a bold statement, but it resonates with many residents who feel that their leader has abandoned them. For them, the question isn't whether Hamilton will step down, but as the eviction case and FBI investigation proceed, the walls are closing in on the self-described supermayor. Whether she is forced to resign, expelled from office, or voted out, one thing is certain: time is running out for Tiffany Henyard to reach the top.
Take the offer to our seniors, and they told us your card doesn't work.
And I stand in the fight because I want the boys and girls of the next generation to see what it looks like to come out of controversy and to come out of all the hatred unscathed. At the end of the day, God gives the test to his.
The sense of betrayal felt by the people of Dalton, who voted for Henyard because they trusted her vision for the village and thought she could truly transform a community in dire need, is perhaps the most frustrating part of this whole story. Instead, they were left with years of dysfunction, scandal, and broken promises. As one local said, "We trusted her, and she let us down, and now we're the ones paying the price." Nevertheless, Henyard continues to have her supporters who think she's being unfairly singled out and that her detractors are only attempting to sabotage her success. Whether or not their loyalty is well-founded or misplaced is left to be seen. But as the election approaches and the scandals keep developing, there is no doubt that the residents of Dalton are following along and are prepared to voice their opinions. Will they give Henyard another chance or decide it's time for a new chapter? Please share your ideas in the comment section below, and remember to subscribe for further updates on this developing story. Perhaps the truth is stranger than fiction. Watch this space. Until we meet again, thanks for watching Visual Vortex.